Hello and welcome to another episode of Frugal Finance. We're just going to have a final update on the three-story bungalow. I know it's been absolutely yonks and I'm sure you're all dying to find out more about it and how it's gone. So we'll just crack on into it. We'll have a little tour around and then I'll probably disclose some of the numbers and what our plans are for it going forward. So this is the probably the smallest of the bedrooms here. You've got this little nice, I don't know what they call it, like a kind of, the grey has got like a word that begins with A, R2 something or other, I don't know. Anyway, nice grey radiator, obviously all new UPVC windows, nice light fittings and stuff like that, those sort of metal jobbies that are pretty common. And again, this black hinges, white door arrangement that we've gone kind of throughout, even like the inner bits of the locks and stuff like that are all done. And again, the sort of hinges and things like that. And that goes nicely into the kind of grand entrance here. We've got this nice hanging light arrangement. Although that's actually quite big, it doesn't even do the space justice, if I'm honest. You can't really see from here, but it probably could have been almost twice the size in terms of width either way, but nonetheless quite a nice little feature. And then into the third smallest bedroom, I suppose. There's two at the front of the building are a little smaller than the ones upstairs. This one actually has the loft hatch in it, so that was quite good because we managed to retain a loft hatch or loft space either side of this kind of double aspect height hallway here, so that was pretty good. Couple of things that didn't go quite to plan here is this sort of arrangement here. This staircase was supposed to be full width right up and we wouldn't have ended up with this sort of shelf, if you like, here if it had been actually built properly, but it was going to take something like about 12 weeks to send it back and have it rebuilt, and that is not time that we can afford, so unfortunately we had to sort of do that with it. We'll go upstairs first of all and have a look around here. So some of you would have seen already because we've done some videos on it for the sales particulars and stuff like that, and I'll turn some of these lights on, but basically you got in here all spotlights on the ceiling. This is the second biggest bedroom. Obviously it's got a nice view over the gardens and out to over the river and the rest of the town. And again, we've got this nice hanging light fitting in here. Then we go into the master bedroom here, where what we did was we had this Juliet balcony arrangement installed. Now I learned a bit of a lesson with this because they actually sell this as a whole piece, like literally just like two windows, patio doors, the glass, the metal, everything, the whole lot. Whereas what we actually did was buy the glass, the patio door and the two side panels as one unit, and then we've retrofitted the glass panel. You get slightly nicer because we've actually had the opportunity to add these nice little stainless steel handrails down the side here. However, it probably would have been more cost effective to have bought the whole thing, and this was a bit of a pig to do. But one of the things that we did actually manage to do, which was pretty cool in the end, was not actually, you can see there, attach through the tiles, because it's quite difficult to attach these things retrospectively, and we managed to actually get it to go through the plastic frame and attach to the wall, so it's nice and sturdy, but we haven't got this kind of weak point where water might leak through from like a poor fitting against the tile. Obviously they're quite kind of sandpapery finish, so it's quite hard to get a nice watertight seal against that, so that's pretty good. And then we've got the ensuite in here, which is actually one of my favourite things. This sort of half mirrored shower arrangement here is pretty cool. Obviously got to keep it clean, but yeah, with a big one-piece opening door that kind of pivots around on itself, so pretty cool like that. And then obviously we went for these kind of wall of mosaic tile things just to break it up a little bit. And then you've got these nice demister light fitting, which is also obviously your cupboard. And there's the old socket up in the top there. I think they're pretty good little key features for people. You know, everyone needs to shave or well, shave or not. I don't know if you're a woman, perhaps you don't shave your face, but toothbrushes and things like that. And then obviously you've got the main bathroom here, which has got a lovely double-ended bath arrangement here, which you can just about see there. So that's nice for kind of chilling out, maybe a glass of vino, or you know, nice for the kids. So you've got the kind of full depth of the bath. Again, you've got the mirror at the top there, more toothbrush charging or shaving, and then you've got more storage in here. The boiler's actually up in the top there as well, so that's pretty good. And then, as I've mentioned before, we did the old spray foam insulation, which you can just see there in between the rafters. So that's pretty good up here. I think overall it's a pretty nice little place. Well, it's quite a big place actually, to be fair, but yeah, overall, you know, nice and modern now. Obviously you remember it from the original photographs and movie, the films that I did. And then you've got this double front door to get your furniture in. More storage under the stairs here, just needs cleaning out in there, but that's a nice little storage feature there, and that just fits flush like that, so you can barely see it other than obviously the line from where the cover pivots. We've got these kind of more of these radiators, but these ones have got mirrors in them. Here we've got the funky toilet with the sink, or the faucet if you're American, on the top there. So the idea is that as you wash your hands, the water goes back down there, and then when you flush it, it then assists the toilet flushing part, which obviously is eco-friendly. Then we've got the cupboard here, which obviously we've got all new electrics in there, good for storage. There's actually a cupboard upstairs which I forgot to show you. It's a double-doored cupboard, so about twice the size of this one here, and it's got a socket in the back of it for actually charging an electric hoover or whatever you might want to put in there. Again, we've got another bathroom down here. So this, you could make this into a shower by increasing the tile height around here if you wanted to, but we left it as a bath just because it feels quite kind of tight if you come in. Like the shower screen would be off this wall here, so you wouldn't get an awful lot of kind of shoulder width, if you like. But there's nothing to say you couldn't get one of the bi-folding glass door, or perhaps a shower curtain if you wanted to, or something like that. And again, you've got the demister and light here, but this one isn't a cupboard obviously. And then extra heater in here, just because sometimes the bathrooms don't always benefit from the residual heat from the rest of the property. Kitchen, which you've probably already all seen. This is all finished, nice and clean. Obviously we've carried on with the black and white theme, and then you've got the oven and various spotlights and things like that. And then the final thing really, apart from the outside gardens and stuff, is obviously the double doors into the lounge here. So again, you've got these nice radiators with the mirrors in, which you can see behind me there. And then you can see we've done some work on the garden, which I'll put up some other photos. We're just watering the grass at the moment, keep that nice and fresh. It's pretty hot in the UK, as you can probably tell by my slightly damp hair. But yeah, that's pretty much all in all with the property. So I'm going to sort of go through the figures now with everybody, because I know that's kind of what a lot of people want to see. But before I do that, I just would say we in the end, we've actually decided to rent the property out for a little bit, and that's mainly because we just haven't really had the right sort of clientele, if you like, come and put offers in on the property. So I'll touch a little bit more on that when I've got all the figures to hand, and we can kind of run through the decision-making process and what the plan is long term. So numbers time. So as you know, we paid £240,000 for the property, and the build cost was originally estimated at about 70k, but unfortunately due to various material price increases, some items almost probably doubled or more in price. For example, things like the UPVC windows. Obviously we added the shed arrangement and converting that into a kind of a nice insulated office space to the equation. But if you take into account those UPVC doors and windows in that building and everything else that we put into the thing, we budgeted about £5,000 for the project, and it came out about 9, so quite a lot more than we thought. Steels, structural woodwork, that sort of stuff, that was all probably about double what we were anticipating. Budgeting maybe like £1,500 for the structural element of the woodwork, and that was coming in about 2,300, and again similar sort of increases with the steels. Boiler prices have gone up, lots and lots of stuff, even the paint, copious amounts of paint that we needed in the property, lots and lots of coats, lots of fresh plaster, all that sort of stuff, and that really meant that the 70k budget was probably more like about 110k all in all. I'm actually still doing the numbers on it, to be fair, but if we call it 110, so it's £40,000 over budget from what we originally budgeted for back in May 2021, June 2021. So in 1 year, that's how much the prices have gone up. I was able to cut a lot of things out, do some stuff myself, squeeze prices right down as best as we possibly could, really try to save, and I still believe that the actual true build cost, if you just went out and tendered it and got a builder in, probably would be closer to 160, maybe 165,000. It'd probably be quoting about 150 plus VAT, maybe 160 plus VAT, so you would be pretty high up there. So those figures that I've given you there, 70k budget coming in at 110, are inclusive of VAT. It's just a tax that they add in the UK. I'm sure there's lots of other taxes around the world, similar sort of thing, but it's about 20%, or it is 20% in the UK. And any contractor big enough to carry out this sort of job is generally going to be VAT registered. I was actually able to use some trades and pay them directly, but again, can't do everything non-vatable. So we're in at 240 to buy it, 110 to refurbish it, so we're in at 350. Originally, we actually put the property on at 450, thinking that would we would get a ride on the booming market, if you like. Unfortunately, that didn't really kind of come to fruition. We had a couple of inquiries and so on, but some people were put off a little bit by this steep driveway that's here. It's not massively steep, but obviously it is a factor when you're spending sort of 450 on a property, and parking is obviously important to people. We could have done the front garden, but we chose not to. We thought we'd leave it for somebody else to do, on the basis that people like to kind of have a bargain or have some sort of project. It's very bespoke, the front garden, because it doesn't really lend itself overly to being particularly paved out. You can still have it as a slight slope, but you might find that you block the views out of the front bedrooms and so on. So we thought we'd leave someone else to make that decision. But yeah, I mean, we could have done the work, but we would then have probably cost even more and lost even more money. So basically, you've got that scenario where we're at 450. So we thought we'd drop it to 425. We've had a bunch of inquiries and a whole load of spurious offers around the sort of 400, 405 mark, that sort of thing. But you have to remember that we're in it, and we're in it for sort of £350,000, and that's without stamp duty and legal costs. So you add those back in, and we're actually in for about 365, probably 370. Then you add in the interest costs, we're probably in at about 380, maybe 385, something in that region. But the reality is if we're in at 385 and we sell it for 405, we're not even going to clear 20 grand out of it, because there's selling fees, so there'd be a solicitor's cost, estate agent's fees, there'll be about 5 grand, so we'll clear 15 out of it, of which this particular property I put in my personal name, so we wouldn't pay tax on £12,000 of that because we get capital gains tax, but we would pay 40% tax as higher rate taxpayers on the difference, so the other £3,000. So we would be looking at clearing probably in the region of about £13,500 out of this particular build. So I know that is a fair chunk of money for people, but bearing in mind how much money we've put into this build, what we've actually done in terms of man hours on it ourselves and the rest of it, I think it works out probably nigh on about the equivalent of a sort of 25 grand a year job, which I do appreciate. That is a lot of people's kind of median wage, but obviously we're doing this for, you know, a fair profit, and you know, it's been 9 months worth of hard graft, so I was sort of expecting a little bit more out of that. However, that brings me on to kind of what I touched on earlier about renting. So obviously, if we're looking at clearing, say, I don't know, say it's 15 grand, best case scenario, 15, 20 grand out of it. The reality is whilst it's a shame to rent it because we've kind of up-spec'd it and done a very nice spec here, you have to look at things very commercially and think to yourself, well, I can rent it and I can get about £1,750, £1,800 a month for it, and the mortgage will be about £700. So I'm going to clear £1,100. Let's say there's £100 worth of expenses every month. So there's £1,000 a month cleared before tax. So that's 12 grand in 1 year of cleared non-taxable profit. So you think to yourself, well, if we can make 12 grand a year renting it, and I can sell it and probably clear, say, 20 grand, so I might as well rent it for 2 years and I'm in the same position, and maybe the market would have recovered and then we can sell the property, or we can just hang on to it as part of a portfolio. You know, so I think the reality is we may have to even drop it below the 400 mark or around that. So our 20 grand profit probably gets squeezed right down to more like a £15,000-ish profit before tax, obviously. And then you've got the rental option, which is £12,000. So there's not much of a gap between those two things. And I think that kind of comes down to the real kind of importance of doing these sort of projects. Obviously, we went on the purchase or sell route, so we probably spent a little bit more money buying some slightly better upmarket stuff. We didn't go too mad with it, but we probably would have put pendants in and things like that, and not gone so crazy with the spotlights. We might have used white plastic sockets rather than these metal ones, you know, all those sort of things. But I don't think there's probably only about a 10-15% uplift for doing it slightly more premium than one would normally do. I think the importance is you always have to have plan A, B, and ideally a C, really. And plan B for us was always to rent it. There's no doubt about that. You have to have options, and we can't get what we want for it. So we're not in a horrible position where we're having to sell it for a loss or even a small profit. We're in a nice position where we can just go, well, we want what we want for it. We're not getting that because the market isn't right for that, so we'll rent it for a bit. My belief on why we're not getting it isn't necessarily because it's overpriced. I think at 425 it represents a pretty good deal for somebody who wants to come in, put all their furniture down and get on with their lives and not have to do a load of DIY. There is literally nothing to do here. It's almost like a new build property. I think the problem is as interest rates rise and talk of people putting like the companies putting new hiring on hold, and maybe talk of recession and layoffs and the rest of it, this particular property, the target market for it is your mum and dad, 2 kids, maybe 3 kids, who both work perhaps in sort of middle management, and and those are the people that probably feel the pinch of things quite a lot, because they're not kind of low end scale where they perhaps didn't have the money to start with. I'm not saying it's not hard for people at the bottom of the scale, but if you didn't have the money to start with, you're not missing it, so you're not really in the market to be buying this sort of property.
Whereas if you were in the market and now what you're doing is you're sitting there going, well, look, you know, petrol prices have gone up, food costs are going up, holidays are going up, everything, and I'm a little bit worried that maybe I might lose my job or maybe not be able to do overtime or whatever it might be. That sort of person is probably not going to move, or they're going to be thinking, oh, I'll wait until the prices go down, or there's bound to be a crash, or property prices or whatever, you know. They're right in that market, unfortunately. I strongly believe if this was a 2-bed flat aimed more at your retired people or your first time buyers, that sort of thing, it probably would have sold, because I think that market's still strong. And also if it was a 6, 7, 8, 900,000 pound property, I think that market's still strong, because those people generally a little bit more resilient to economic impacts. But unfortunately that kind of 400 to 500, or give or take 10% either way of that market, unfortunately, is probably exactly where this property is aimed, and those are the people that are probably most worried or feeling the pinch. They're having to make cutbacks because they don't get the assistance from the government, but they don't earn enough money for it to not completely impact them. So that's why I think this property is not selling at the moment, or not really getting the offers that we need for it. So we'll have to rent it for a bit. It's not the end of the world. It can be redecorated and repaired and the rest of it. You know, in an ideal world it doesn't get trashed up, but you know, fair wear and tear is fine. That's what deposits and things are for if people damage stuff. So you know, we've put extra clauses in for garden maintenance, any pets and stuff, and we've tried to, you know, cater for that through the rent and so on, because it's, you know, not a kind of simple, you know, husband wife renting a 1 or a 2-bed flat. This is obviously going to be aimed at a bigger family, or and they come with young kids who damage things and pets and so on. So tried to sort of preempt that. So yeah, but as I say, you know, we hopefully if they move out in a year or two and we sell it, then it won't need too much doing to it. But if they stay for a very long period of time, it then becomes rather irrelevant. You know, if they stay for 10 years and there's a net, you know, adjusted for inflation, but let's say it's a net income of £1,000 a month, that's £12,000 a year. If they stay for 10 years, it's £120,000. Well, the price of the property would have gone up and so on. And whilst it might not be the best, you know, return on the money, it's not a negative return. I mean, yeah, we could sell, if we could sell this property, we'd sell it, probably buy 2 flats, and then we'd get slightly better returns on them. But, you know, not everything to life goes to plan, unfortunately. And this is what's happened with this particular one. So I hope that's really interesting to you guys. I know a lot of people have asked me about that. I don't know whether they were just sort of interested to see whether we were making a go of it, or what we were doing really. And you know, people always like the figures and the numbers and want to know how much things have cost and so on. So hopefully you appreciate the honesty there and the rest of it. And yeah, our hands up, it hasn't quite panned out how we wanted it to, but you know, that's the importance of having other options and being in a position where you can say, I think, you know, we'll just do this for a bit. You know, we're not backed in a corner where I need that money for something else. We have access to other funds to do other projects. It's not ideal that we're leaving money locked up in here, because that wasn't the plan, but we can certainly sustain that. That is not really an issue, but you know, now it gives us extra cash flow, if you like, to ride it out, because in a recession cash is king, to be honest. So you know, every penny that we can bring in as sort of passive income is useful. So yeah, if you've got any questions at all, please do feel free to go in the comments below and add any questions that you've got. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and all that sort of stuff everyone always says, but I really do appreciate it when people comment below and ask questions. And I know there's a lot of people that kind of get stuck with this property development-y stuff and get a bit scared about it and the rest of it. And I think, you know, having conversations and so on is pretty useful. I mean, I'm members of lots of these kind of Facebooky type groups and things, like social media groups for entrepreneurs and property investors, and there's a lot of conversations, and it's quite nice, you know, talking to people and sharing your kind of plans and projects and where people's pitfalls are and all that sort of stuff. So by all means, please do comment below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall see you soon. Been awfully flat out. We've got some other projects lined up after this one, get this all settled in and sorted, and then we're moving on, but getting all of that in the pipeline has been pretty hectic. So we'll be updating you on that. So we've got in the pipeline, for excitement reasons, we've got lots of stuff on the stock market, so I've been doing a lot in the background, haven't posted an awful lot about that. We've actually purchased the main company, Charles Cox Property Management, my main company. We've actually purchased another business, and we're also currently purchasing a roof space for redevelopment of 2 brand new flats on the roof. So follow us along for the journey on that. Until next time.